Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Paint with Sean. So, today we are continuing on our Great Mountain scene, and last time we left off, we created this beautiful path that sort of drops off a little bit of a cliff and down into the water here. And so, we're going to continue on today. We're going to close up this little gap, we're going to put some little bushes around it, get some more dynamics going in the water with some edge lines of the water and some of that sort of stuff. But the real focus I'd like to put in today is for a little cabin back in the mountains here. And so we want to sort of give it some structure over here. And we're going to use our trusty knife to do that today. So hopefully you guys got a nice something to drink and can hang out with me for about a half an hour. And we're just going to paint for a little bit and add to our painting, and if we get it finished, then we can call it finished. But if it's not quite finished, then we can continue on in another video. And that's the magic of this, is not feeling rushed, not feeling like you have to hurry up and get it done so that you can say that it's finished. The point of painting is for enjoyment, and we really want to have a good time doing it. And so today we're going to continue where we left off. Like I said, I'm going to put a little bit of a bushes area over here to sort of solidify the edge of this little cliff thing going on, so we can just catch the detail of this path coming down. And then we've got this little beach sort of area. It's got some rocks to it, so it's not a sandy beach in any way, but this light dark coloration, you know, even right under the rocks where it's dark right here, and a little bit longer streaks of dark over here where it seems to stick out a little bit more, and a little bit higher and that sort of stuff. You can play with some of those light and dark combinations that really give things depth to it. So I'm going to go back into my little round brush here and make sort of a dark green color on the canvas over here. So I've got some black and some green that I'm going to mix together, get something pretty dark going on here, because we want to have this really stand out for us. Oh, I touched some red in there, so that's going to help darken it up. So colors are never exact, guys. We're just having a good time over here. So I got a little bit of color here, and I just want to come over the edge of this so that we can create the shape of a bush. Okay, so again, we want to make sure we've got lots of color going on. I may not have put enough on my brush here to really get it to stick out the way I want it to, and I just want it to barely come over that edge of the cliff there. I think I need some more paint. So again, I want this first color to be fairly dark so that we have a good dark over light scenario going on. There we go, that's what I was looking for. Okay, and we just need the shape. Okay, we don't really need too much else going on. We just want the shape of the bush. So we've got a little bush going on here. And I'm going to use that same color, get it nice and dark over here. And we're going to make another little bush for ourselves. So I sort of had one. Ooh, you can see I touched the red. So got to be careful as we're playing around in our palette. Got a little bit on there, but we'll just cover that right up. Okay, so I'm just sort of bending the bristles a little bit, giving a little bit of tap. Okay, create a nice little bush structure for ourselves here. Okay, I'm pushing this away. I'm pushing so hard on the canvas. So this stuff's pretty tough. Okay, so you guys can push pretty hard on these things. You're not going to hurt them. And this rounded brush really gives you a nice edge to work with. Okay. And again, it's okay if your edges are not exactly even how you want them to be. That's all right. And then we can incorporate this little bush right here right onto the path by just coming down a little bit. Okay. So it's just going to kind of lead over that little path, and if we want to get a arm of our bush, you know, sort of sticking out there a little bit, it'll take some more paint. Okay, so we'll just have a little little piece sticking out there. And again, just like rocks, bushes are not uniform, guys, so we want to make sure that we give them, you know, some variation going on in where they stand. Okay, so again, we're just going to lighten the color. I'm going to touch into the white a little bit, and I'm just going to tap a little bit. Okay, so I don't want to create too much depth just yet. So I just want to get a little bit going on in there. Get myself a little more white in there and create this look of the edge of the bush. Okay, so I really want to leave this dark area behind it so that you can see the light that comes up as we put the white on. Okay, so I'm getting just a little bit of that white on there. You don't want it to be too strong. We just want to make the form of a bush. Okay, and all that dark that we put on was there to show the light. Okay, so we can start to see the edge of a bush. And the more distinct this color variation is, the more it will show up. All right. So the light to the dark, that's always the trick. So we've got a little bit of white going on in that bush. I'm going to grab a little bit more of the white. Create another little bush structure going on over here. Okay, so again, we want to leave this break in the dark to the light and not cover it all up. We want that to be its own individual bush going on over there. Okay. I'm going to make a nice solid bush line here, so you can really tell where that one's at. Good stuff. Okay, and a lot of this is just playing around, guys. Again, I'm not claiming to be a professional at this. I'm just showing you a few little things that I've learned and how you might try to incorporate them into some of your own paintings. I like those highlights. There we go. Some nice little strong pushes give us a little bit more bush structure. Okay. So we've got our things going on over here. Alright, bushes coming together. Okay, so we can kind of see there's a little bit of bushes going on right here in the front of this little area, and it kind of makes this disappear a little bit, and we're not quite sure what's going on. We'll put a little bit more over here if we want. Maybe some of these bushes got a little bit more white to them because they were out here in the way. Who knows? You get to make up your own little story, so I hope you guys do some of that. That's part of the fun, is just pretending like you know what's going on in this world, even if you don't. Okay? Alright, so we've got a good little bush structure going on. I'm going to get my brush in some water here. Okay, so let's get into our house structure, and I'm going to just get a little more brown on my palette here. I've pretty well used it all up. And you can really make these out of whatever color you want. Now I've got this like extra long chunky bit. So acrylics are not the most expensive paints. So a lot of times it does take dealing with some of the lower quality for a lower cost. Okay. So we're going to get some black. We're going to get some brown. We're going to mix these up over here. And I don't want this to be super, super dark, but I don't want it to be... I do want it to be dark, but I don't want it to be pure black. Okay? So I've got a marbling of kind of some black and some brown. And again, I'm probably not even close to as much paint as I need. But we're just going to get a little structure. Now, the bigger we make this house or cabin or whatever you want to call it, the closer it will look, as well as the farther down we put it and the closer to the water, the closer it will look. So you want to be aware of that for scale when it comes time to make your little cabin here. But we're just going to come with a little base structure of it. Okay, so I'm going to put it up a little bit higher so that it kind of pushes this mountain back. So again, before I start making this, I'm just going to get a little bit more color and make sure I've got plenty of this going on here. Okay, so I'm just mixing this right on the palette here, nothing fancy. Okay, so we've got our color here, and I want to overlap the mountain to push it back a little bit. Okay, but I don't want to cover up all this beauty. We did some really good work in here, okay? So I'm just going to make our little mountain, or our little cabin roof. Okay, we're going to bring it down right here. So again, I already need some more paint running out. Okay, and the point of this is just to lay out the edges of it. Okay, so we want this to really be nice and solid for ourselves. Okay, so as we're coming through, we can make little adjustments, and these knives are great for these straight edges. Okay, and you don't have to have a ton of paint on here for the dark. Okay, we just want a little bit going on. Okay, so I'm going to mix up a little bit more, get some more of our brown going on. We want a nice dark color in the back so that, again, there's something for that light color that we'll put over the top to show through, and it really allows it to stand out and have some depth to it. Okay, so we're going to give it a little bit of a roof line, and we want to come down. We want to make sure our angles are the same. So again, I don't have enough paint on the back edge of my knife there, so I'm going to reapply. Bring it on down. Okay, and we're just kind of filling this in. This doesn't have to be anything fancy. And I'm really not getting the paint on the front edge of the knife here. So I've got a lot of paint on there, but it really only comes off the very tip edge. Okay, so I want it to sort of be an opposite angle to this one. Okay, so I'm going to make it a little bit more dramatic like that. There we go. So we got a nice big cabin going on here. So we're going to get some extra paint on the tip of our blade here. Finish this out. We want to leave just a little bit of that back edge of the cabin, not quite to the edge. Okay. And again, if your edges aren't perfect, that's okay. We're going to come back to it and sort of scrape them out anyway. Okay, beautiful. Dripping paint over here, so we can pull some of that down if you want. Give yourself a little more dynamics to work with. We're going to cover all this up anyway, so not a big deal. Okay, so we've got most of that dark color cleared off. I'm going to work over here in my brown a little bit, and it's already got some darkening agent to it, but I want it to still be fairly obvious that it's a brown. Okay, so again, while it's dark, while it's messy, we're just going to come through and real light pressure. We don't want too much going on because we want this paint to break. Okay, and when we say break, we want these little holes in it. We don't want it to be super solid. Okay, so again, we're just going to mix some of this up here. And Impressionist painting is so forgiving. Okay, it's not something that you have to be perfect at it with every touch, and all your lines don't have to be exactly the same and that sort of thing. Directions are great, okay, but it's very much up to the mind to sort of find the details that aren't there. Okay, so we're just going to put a little bit of brown on the sides going on over here. Okay, just a little bit. Give me some more paint here. We're going to come down over here and get a little brown going on. But we want to come downward with these strokes so that we can see how that works out. What it really would look like if we were standing there seeing the boards of the thing. Okay. So again, the more you use these knives, the more familiar you'll get with the touch and how to apply the paint and distribute it and all that sort of stuff. Okay, so we're getting our mud going on here, a little bit of structure. So now I'm going to come in with some of the lighter colors and just sort of define this out. So I'm just going to get my pure white here, put some color going on my palette. I might use a little more white. This is a winter scene. We got a lot of white going on. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to pull some of this out and get a little roll of paint right there on the edge. So again, I just want to kind of clean up this back edge, show that it has a little bit of snow on it. So you can see that one touch, it's not even, but that's how snow looks. Okay. So I just define the edges right here. Okay, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Maybe there is a little bit hanging off of there or whatever. Okay, so I just want to come up to the top and run it down. Okay, let me get a little bit more paint on my knife. Little roll of paint on the edge there. Make sure I got some on the back side over there. And then we're just gonna put it on. Okay. So again, you can put this on here as thick or as thinly as you want, and you can adjust this as much as you need. Okay, so we just want to get a little bit of white going on the roof, make it look like it's got a little snowy roof going on. Okay, that's okay if that roof line is not perfect. I just want to make sure we've got a sort of even distribution of white going on. And there are smaller knives that you can use. So if you find that the one you're using just is too big of a space, there is also a smaller side. So if I just want to get a little bit going on, there is this little extra edge. So that might be a real good area right here. I can just throw a little bit on. Okay. So again, being able to hold these at different angles and use them at different pressures and all of that sort of thing is what gives you these effects. Okay, so I'm starting to pull it off where I don't want. So a lot of times it's good to just put it on there and walk away. And sometimes that's really tough because you want it to look a certain way. Okay, so I'm going to get my white going on. It's mixing with the brown, so I'm going to put a little more white on here just to make it nice and white. We want a real wintry scene going on. Okay. Now, we've got sort of a little bit hanging over the edges. We've got our edge going on in the back. So now we want to get some vertical stuff going on. Now, it's not going to be pure white underneath. The cabin isn't going to have the same kind of snow on the sides of it that it would on the top. So we can't make this the same pure white like we did before. So we're going to get some white and some brown and mix it up. And we want to make a very much lighter color of brown. Okay. So I still want this to look like a cabin. I don't want to put too much yellow in this. Really want it to have that sort of wood color look. Okay. So we've got a little bit more in here, and we're just going to come in here and real light pressure, bring it down. Okay. Real light pressure. So we just want the indication of some things going on. Okay. And if you get too much on there, you can take some off. You can reapply how we need. Okay. And a real light pressure. You really want that to look variated. You don't want it to be the same. The harder you push, the more evenly it will distribute the paint. Okay, so I'm just going to throw in a few more areas of light and dark here, just so it kind of has that effect on it. Okay, and again, we can just sort of scrape some of this off, even out our bottom edge, and we're going to come in and put some more white on that anyways, so we're not too worried about, you know, where does the land lay? Is the house perfectly straight or whatever? Because maybe the snow is built up differently underneath. So we're just putting the general effects on it. So we're going to come in here, and we don't want to mess up our white. Okay, so I'm just going to put a little bit of this coloration in here. We don't want to take off that full color that's already on it. We just want to have some things going on and show that there's a little bit of old cabin structure going on to it. Okay, so you can see how this light and dark and just pulling it down a little bit really mixes it up. Okay, so let me get this off of there. And doors are the easiest one. This is a little bit too big to make the door. I really don't want the door to be that tall. So I'm going to use the little small side of my knife and get some real dark color going on with the black. Okay, so I want to make sure I've got that all the way across the edge of my knife here, and I'm just going to put a little door straight down. Okay, and so it really gives that intention that there is a way to walk in there. And even this little bit where I scraped it off too much over here, it almost makes it look like the door is open and you can kind of see inside. And again, guys, we can have a real good time with little stories around what's going on. So maybe they've got a window over here and we just want to put a little bit of a indication of a window. Okay, maybe they got another window over here and they're over here, you know, looking out onto the mountain seam and see what's going on. So we've got our dark on there, and we want to really just accentuate that with some pure white. Okay, so again, I'm just going to use this little edge, and we're just going to sort of touch. Okay, put a little bit of an outline to it, not too much. I just want to get a little bit going on so you can see where the edge of the door is. Okay, and if it's not perfect, that's okay. This again is kind of far away. It's sort of a small looking cabin. It's, you know, we don't even know if anyone lives there anymore. Maybe they moved out and this thing's just falling apart in the winter. Who knows? Okay, get a little more going on here. So those little bits, just little tiny bits, they don't have to even really be even. They don't have to be every side like a drawn line, but we do want to give it that real indication that here's where the edge of that window is. Okay, so again, just those little bits of pieces really can make it have that effect. And now if you really want to, you know, get some super detail in this, you can take the edge of the knife and just scrape. Okay, and if your paint is still wet, it will make lines. Okay, and you can scrape pretty hard a lot of times to really get it to go through. Okay, so my paint dried very quickly, but having those vertical variations really gives it that indication that there's, you know, something going on there. So okay, so knife is pretty well done for this one. We've got the shape of our cabin here, and now we're just going to come in with our fan brush. Okay, so I'm just going to get into the white here and load this full of color. Okay, so both sides of the brush, we're just going to load this full of white. And here is where we start to create the lay of the land. Okay, so from back here, I just want to grab this and pull it this way. Okay, and I've got a lot of color on the brush, so it's going to put a lot of paint down. Okay, so if you pull from some of that color underneath and you get a little bit of that in the painting, that's okay. Okay, and we just want it to come down. All right. And I'm going to put just a tad bit out here on either side and give it that little bit of a base to stand on. Okay, if you don't have any kind of dark color up underneath, then sometimes it can look like it's just floating in the air. Okay, especially on this sort of dark plane like it is. All right, now we've got some white going on up here. I really want to have a solid line of white so that it really looks like there's snow coming off of it. Okay, we got a little bit of that brown that we picked up in there, and maybe this just sort of comes up in here and disappears. Okay, so we've got our good base for our cabin, but it looks like it's snowed in. So we want to give it a little place that you can actually get up to it. So we've got some white on here, but I just want to grab a little bit of this brown color that we had, and I just want to make a little bit of a path. Okay, and so I'm just going to kind of go back and forth a little bit and open this up, and I want to bring this path right down to the water. Okay, and so again, the path will get wider as it gets farther away from that cabin. Okay, the closer it gets, the smaller it's going to get back up in there. Okay, so we can just throw a little bit of this color. I'm going to add a tad bit of yellow to it. Just give it a little more of a tan color versus the straight wood style. Okay, and this doesn't have to be perfect, you know, but this little motion like this is what gives it that depth into the trail. Okay, get a little more of my color here. We're just going to give ourselves a little path to walk into, and it'll just kind of come in here and do whatever it wants to do. Okay, and then I'm not sure where this is going to go yet, so we'll just sort of leave the path as it is. Gonna give it a little bit of a fluff in there. Okay, so now you can see we've got this actually going up a hill to go to this cabin. It really looks like there's something that sort of drops off right there. Okay, so I'm going to play on that just a little bit, and I'm going to darken this up so that we can sort of see that light and dark area really coming through. So again, I'm still working on that same dirty brush. Okay, I'm just going to come back in and grab some of my white. Well, I've got that other color on there. It's gonna make it so that it's not pure white. Okay, and so when we pull this down, it's going to pull some of that background color into it. All right, and that's what allows it to have sort of that little hillish type look. All right, and I don't want to go over the top of this bush at all. All right, so I'm going to pull in some of this little bush snow color. It's coming on down into our path. Okay, so maybe we just want our hill to sort of disappear off into the area over there. Okay, so again, these angles of the brush strokes are really what allows you to see how the lay of the land works. Okay, so if we want this one to be sort of coming down the hill this way, then we can pull it this way. And it looks like they're both sort of coming down into this little trail area. Okay. So we've got a cool little mountain structure going on. We've got, you know, sort of our snow coming up, but I really want that to look like snow. So I'm going to tap this white, pure white, and get it right up to the edge and just pull it down. Okay, it's very important that this is sort of soft and we can see that it's a pure white. And everywhere that I want to create another plane, I can do that by adding some pure white to it. Okay, so if I want this to just sort of disappear over here, we have this little light and dark area that we can work with that creates a whole nother plane. Okay, so maybe this one just needs a little more brightening up. Pull it down just a little bit. And all of these have their own little indications of depth and rolling hill sort of thing. Okay, so we're gonna bring it from all the way up top here, and we'll just bring it on down in here. And again, we're getting to the point where it's not really dark enough to see the light. Okay, so I probably just don't have enough white on here. I'm mixing with the color that's on the brush. But this contrast of dark and light, guys, again, is really where you're going to see the depth of things. Okay. So I've got this real white color going on. I'm just going to fan that out just a tad so we can really see where our heel line is. So we are out of time, guys. Boy, this half an hour goes quick for us. Okay, so I'm going to throw in a couple more little pieces here just to show you guys some pieces of this as it's coming together. Okay, and we can create as many little depths and rolling hills and whatever we decide we want to do. So I'm just very excited for you guys to be here with me, share some of this time learning some of these techniques. We're going to continue working on the cabin structure, where it's at, what it's doing, and on down into our water as we pick up next time. So appreciate you guys' time, and we'll see you in the next video.